So let me know when we're ready to go into the demo.
Hey, I think everyone is out of the breakout rooms, and now we're all back here at our main workshop area. So thanks again for everyone who participated in the breakout rooms. That was a lot of fun. We actually made a dubstep track using samples of live geese, and
Nice.
yeah, it was pretty fun. I'm going to share the project if anyone wants to download it afterwards. It wasn't that great at the end of the day, but it was fun still. I think we learned some stuff. So cool. All right. Chris Adams, aka Ahi, you have the floor. Thanks again for doing this. And in case you guys don't know Chris Ahi, you've been a music producer for a long time, touring performer and musician. You've created some really awesome, kind of gone viral Ableton music production tutorials over the last few years. You're just constantly cranking up great content. And just want to say I'm a fan of your music and your production techniques and stuff like that. And thanks again for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Uh,
Awesome.
yeah, I've found that the Ableton user groups are just like a real pleasure to work within because I feel like it's people actually like wanting to grow and not just be like, yo, check out my tune, on so many other things, but people are like, like how can I learn this or how can I get better at that? And I feel like there's a real community of people looking to improve themselves, and I find that inspiring. So I guess I will show you. I have two things to show y'all. One, maybe I made a gift sample pack slash like a couple Ableton racks to give to everybody. I think can we throw the link to download that in the group chat?
Yeah, it's coming up right now.
Okay, cool. Yes, so there's three Ableton racks. I was sort of reluctant to give these away because I spent so much time on them. But I really wanted to like give something back to this community because y'all have been supportive of my tutorials and I super appreciate that. So it's part of my Magic Rack. I gave away three of them from my Magic Racks Volume 4. Which uses all of Ableton 11's newest features to like really push like what a Ableton rack can really do, and I'll show that in my second demo. So I've got like two demos here for y'all today. One of them is just a track that I'm working on currently, and one of them is like a track I specifically made for this meeting. And this first one, I want to show y'all like a track that's close to being done, and then another track of like how I go from an idea to a creative process to like maybe getting something that's more complete. Um, Also, I just wanted to say, if y'all, I'm just curious in the track or in the chat, have y'all seen my tutorials before? Yes, yes. All right, cool. Of course. Yes. Well, it's cool that y'all are here. So thank you so much. Okay, a couple of y'all. So I make the tutorials. I guess my first viral one is when I um, broke down Skrillex's Ableton project that he posted on like the Fuji opener track or Mumbai Power. I think that was the track. And I noticed this technique that he was using. I sort of had heard about it before, but I think I was one of the first people online to really explain it fully because you couldn't really quite see it. You could only infer that it was happening. And I have somewhat of a like pictorial based memory, and so like I could see his whole project in my head, even though you could only see a portion of the screen at a time. But really, what it was about is using groups inside Ableton as basically like brick wall limiters and then mixing brick wall limiters together. So that way it's like you're creating like it's like you're smashing things up against a glass, and depending upon like at what layer in which you smash different things will come forward on the final version. And then also it sort of took away from the master limiter having to do so much work because with any limiter, the loudest thing hitting the limiter is the thing that's going to be acting upon the limiter. So if you're sending a limiter all sorts of different volume levels, it's going to react differently. I noticed this particularly when I was making music. The bass would hit the limiter and then duck everything else in the song, and particularly when I'm making loud bass music, and it sort of took away just clarity and energy from the track when the bass hit so hard. So I realized that by using this technique of having all these groups, and literally I put a Pro L2 limiter on all of them, and then route them so that way I have the loudest elements, the basses and the drums, go to another limiter. It's like a pre-master. But I have a bunch of tutorials that go into depth, but that's sort of where I got my internet like oh, I exist now kind of thing. And then I had a couple other episodes on mixing that got using Span, which if y'all don't have Span, definitely get this. It's a oh, second moving stuff around. But yeah, this is a free visualizer, and just really useful. Definitely go check out my tutorials on those things. But yeah, I want to show you all this track. Before I do, I just want to say this. I've been working on a new or not tutorial series, but like a podcast series. It's called Web Theory, and I've been trying to talk with other artists and like not just explore techniques, but where technique meets inspiration, or I should say where inspiration meets technique, because like the inspiration is what comes first. And I'm always curious, like when people are inspired, like what tools do they go to, and in what way are they actually going about it in this, just like the deeper part of what it means to be a creative person. Yeah. All right, so maybe we'll just listen to this song a little bit, and then I'll break down some of the cool things that I'm using in Ableton 11 to create it. Can y'all hear that? Yeah. Of course, my CPU is like, ah! Yeah, I'll get into what's going on. Yeah. This is a song I've been working on recently. It's not quite done yet, but it's getting there. I played it out live. It goes off pretty well. But I wanted to show you some of the cool things in this. So I'm using operator for almost all of these synths, maybe some serum here and there. But this sound right here I think is really interesting. Particularly I'm using the spectral time on here, and I'm applied the it's just going crazy. So if I turn off the spectral time, that is, it's just so much different. It almost reminds me of like Tipper. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Tipper. It's like psychedelic artist, but it it just adds so much chaos, but in like a controlled like way because it's not it's not changing like the tone or it's not changing the pitch or the notes so much, just like the tonality and when the notes are playing. Also on here, the delay, I've set up the modulation so this time device sort of allows the pitches to like go a little bit. Hear how it pitch bends? It really messes it up so it's like these tiny little things really get to push the melody to just be something else than what it initially was. And then here you can see I like automate on and off just the gain, so that way. Oh yeah, there is another thing going on here on what? So yeah, here I'm automating on and off an LFO tool, and then inside of LFO, it's like I'm controlling a reverb filter inside of LFO tool. So that's what makes that kind of tonality to it. And I think this is the future of effects is tonality, because now there's so many ways to, I don't know, like the standard effects of delay, EQ, compression, and whatnot. But like to really change the spectral quality of a sound, I think is a new innovation that's sort of been utilized in a lot of like future rhythm. I think is sort of the pushing that concept really well right now. And yeah, I'm excited to see where that goes. Like here on the basses, I can show you all some other example of tonality and freeze. And then also just pushing Ableton to do things that it's not supposed to do. Because like I went to music school and did some engineering classes there, and I was told how to use certain things in certain ways and to not do certain things. And I found that by knowing those things, but then knowing when to break them and how to break them was really interesting. So here we can see on this EQ, I'm it's just going crazy because I'm automating the scale and it's almost acting like a filter there. Yeah, so it's like this. That's where that scratchiness sound comes from. But you can hear this almost like whoo, 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 this like upper harmonic, and that comes from these spectral times. Uh, Here, I'll turn them off and on as it's playing. Yeah, it just like adds this sort of interesting upper harmonics to it, and it's done by like, I guess here it's the shifting, the tilting, and the time, but like trying not to overdo these things. I guess the shift is pretty overdone, but like the time amount, it's within a amount of milliseconds where it's not perceived so much as a delay in the whole sound itself, but in just like a tone of it. I thought that was pretty interesting. And yeah, just like using the EQ like a filter, I've been doing that a lot more lately. Here you can see I'm almost like writing in my wah 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 wah, and like that's how I think about it in my head is I'm like literally going wah 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 wah, and like trying to like go from that pattern in my head to this automation lane here. And then what's this one? I guess that's the frequency position. So here I'm using that to try to get some, because like there's the notch here and a notch at the top, and like I found that growl basses are just like getting vowely sounds out of basses usually happens when two EQ like either boosts or cuts like cross, because that's if you look at the human voice when you go ah, e, o, u. If you look at that through a spectrum analyzer, there's just like a lot of ducks and peaks at different resonant frequency spots, and so it's interesting to like view those and have those inform your unconscious understanding of how EQs work and how to use them to emulate the sounds that you're after, like a vowely sound. So like knowing what a vowel looks like inside of a spectrum analyzer can be really useful. I think especially here on the second drop, there's just a lot more obvious on this. Get rid of these. Yeah. Subtle thing. Now, if I get rid of the EQ, yeah, the EQ adds in a lot of tonality there. Though I think there's also a, yeah, I think the what's it called? The LFO tool is also on there as well. And then also on here, just like there's these like that's just a square wave, but it's just being distorted and compressed so much that it turns into something else. So like here, like that turns into. I think that comes from this broken antenna, and then also the trash plugins here that are doing some just like really aggressive. Yeah, look at that, just really aggressive. Oh, ignore. Yeah, my isotope plugins have been acting a little funny. Yeah, delay can do that to the pitch, band notch filters. Yeah, totally. Super cool stuff. But yeah, all this is done in Operator, which is pretty. Now let's look here at the drums, because I think I have, yeah, the drum buses on here, which it's amazing what the new drum buses can do too. So that's the beat. It's pretty simple, but if I was to take these off, that's so much different. Definitely my CPU crunching out the sounds a little bit right there. But also it's like, I find it interesting that I was using 2 drum buses on here instead of just 1, because I found that, you know, sometimes it's like you can't get the same tonality from just using 1 and setting it to the same settings. Like sometimes it's like here, because the dry wets are at different amounts, like you're just intrinsically going to get slight different variations in how each plugin's going to react. And I think this is sort of a mentality of just keep, like, from where you're at, keep molding and like discovering like where the sound is going, and also listening in relationship to everything else. Because if like I was to play this, it's like the extra drum buses like allow the drums to meet the aggressiveness of the basses. And so it's something to, like I would normally, it may be a more chill track, I would not push the drums so aggressively, but in the context of this track, it made sense. And so context is a lot. And also in here, I don't compress the all the snares, or sorry, all the crashes together in with those drums, because sometimes the kick and the snare can actually like compress the hi-hats in like an undesirable way, or the hi-hats can, like, I don't know, become too crunchy or tinny or something like that. So like having them in just like a completely different group that has no compression on it. I think it's here, it's got a limiter on it, but it's not doing anything because the samples aren't even hitting limiter threshold. And so like it's like adding in these layers of heavy compression and then allowing like these more dynamic elements to like move back and forth past that more compressed moment or compressed group. And I think that's sort of the magic of pushing Ableton to its limit, which I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of people do that until like a couple years ago. And I think that was sort of when I was listening to Skrillex's music, you know, how are his mixes so loud and so clean at the same time? Or like Noisia, and it was like blowing my mind, and I could not figure it out. And I would stay up all night, like until like 4 or 5 a.m., like looking at YouTube tutorials. I could not figure it out. And then I finally talked with somebody that happened to work with him and turned me on to this idea and technique, and I've sort of run with it. And yeah, now I'm telling y'all about it. Um, Also, a thing here is that I have this whole effects section that also, again, is not compressed much at all, but it's always giving like a sense of movement from one section into another. The whoosh, kind of sounds. I think, and it's just it sort of gives like a sense of directionality to time. But they're like you barely hear them. They're like in the background of those things. Also, yeah, the vocals in here I like to have. Oh, yeah, look at this. We're using the hybrid reverb for this. Oh, what's that? Interesting. It's like making a chord. What? That's really interesting. Yeah, you can like barely hear that. So it's like all these like almost imperceptible things that add up to create the overall vibe or tonality. There's something special about all of that to me. Maybe we should get into the other demo, or if anybody has any questions about what I've talked about so far. Y'all there?
Are you typically running the drum buses like are you running them on individual drums as well too and groups? And like I almost found, I think it's when they came out in Ableton 10, I found that I use it on every single project in one way or another. It's always curious to see like how other people have really started to incorporate them into your mixes.
Yeah. So I guess that's what's so complex about creating music is that everything is context specific.
Right.
Yeah, and so it's like, and that's why it's sort of hard to teach ideas like mixing, you know? Like mixing is this like ever shifting goalpost of information that's context specific for each individual song and the genre and the utility of the song itself. Like what's the song? Is it designed for like an advertisement, or are you playing it on giant festival speakers, or are you just having fun? You know, these are different utilities for the song. Um, so on here, what am I doing? It looks like I've got one of my Magic Ableton racks on here, so I'm like really compressing the drums. So you can see on here, uh, it's got all those macros and then also a bunch of synth presets or sorry, macro presets on here. And it really does change the vibe of it. That one's too much, too big. Um, I forgot which one it was set at before. Yeah, but then you can go through and that's what I love about the new Ableton 11 things. It's like you can add so much more control and depth to each instrument into the Ableton racks. which I have these things up for sale on my Gumroad. But I gave away 3 of them in that pack. Do we want to drop that pack again
Yeah, let's
in the
let's
chat?
get the link in the chat. I pasted it once, but I want to make sure everyone catches that because this is normally you're giving away a bunch of stuff that you normally are charging, you're selling,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. So like the full like Magic Racks Volume 4 is like I charge jokingly 69.69. But like some of these, like, just because I spent so much time and they do so much stuff. But I have other ones that are like 20 bucks. But these ones that I'm giving out are definitely they're part of this volume 4. One of them's the Magic Base Monsters. Maybe I can show y'all that right now. We'll move on because this other project has got a lot of cool things to share about Ableton 11 as well. Um, yeah, cool. Thanks, Chris. He posted my Gumroad link on there if y'all are interested in that stuff as well. Uh, yeah, and then there's the Ahee'S link, which it's also got some samples in there as well. So all the samples that I used in this song, y'all can do, and I think that's sort of what I wanted to get across in this demonstration. I wanted to show y'all how I go from like almost like sort of a good idea but bad execution into good execution, at least in my perception of it. So I added in some samples that are this peach chop break. Um, oh, is this? Oh no, I just moved it up there. So these drum breaks that are in the sample pack. I actually recorded at Ableton Studios in Los Angeles. I was there for my birthday, and one of the folks there invited me out to record some stuff. So this little break. Let me turn this down. Yeah, that little sample pack we recorded at Ableton. But then here I've also just got like a operator with what is it? I think it's just a square wave. And here I'm going to show y'all. I just set up some like four notes here. And so here, this is one of the Ableton racks that I gave y'all. It's the Magic Base Monsters. I'm just gonna flip through some of these presets as we.
And that, just to clarify, that operator patch is literally just one square wave and a filter on, correct? Is there
No,
anything else?
there's no. Oh yeah, I guess there's the filter on it. Yeah. So yeah, the filter's on. I didn't even turn it off. I should say that. Is that it came on and I left it on. So I literally just pulled up a square wave. And then, yeah, now we'll flip through some of these. Anyways, I think y'all get the idea. There's just all these things, and it's insane that like you can just at a switch of a button change the vibe of the sound so much. And so this is almost like a way for me to kickstart my creativity. So how these things are made is that it's like racks within racks, and it's like selecting a chain of different racks, and then it's like all the knobs on here are controlling different variables in each chain, and it's using a lot of the new Ableton things like the new Redux, the yeah, going through vocoders on some of them, ring modulators, really just throwing everything and my like history of experimenting and learning sound design, and then just throwing it all in one place that can just be achieved button, uh, and and then from there you can then carve the sound. Uh, Close that back up. But y'all, yeah. So this is one of the ones I give away for free to y'all. Normally I sell this one, but this one's one of my best ones. And if
It sounds like amazing, by the way. That's like it's like I couldn't imagine like the time it took to really program with the
it took me a long time, yeah, I'll say that. But also I wanted to give this to y'all because y'all have been so supportive of my tutorials, and I super appreciate that. Um, So for this song, I used this preset, Chrome Anus, technical term. And another one of the magic racks that I gave y'all was the Magic Trance Gates. And this one utilizes, if we look in here, the shaper and a utility. So look at this. It's like I'm like recreating classic trance gate patterns, but just with the utility and these shaper boxes by like creating different patterns in the shaper, aligning it up to the grid. And here, let's just check this out. So here it is without it. We'll add it in. But y'all get the idea of what that does now, I think. But it's pretty fun to just like go through and like see what pattern inspires me. So I had this break that is in the pack as well. So y'all can start this idea along with me if you really want to, or later after it's been recorded. But I've added in a couple kick and snare pattern samples as well. I've made these for a past sample pack of mine. And so I'm basically just following along with the kick and snare of the break. So I always love these little things. You see how it's like just slightly off grid right there? Adds that nice swing to it. And so we'll do that along with that bass sound now. Sound in there. And so what I'll do is I'll just see it's like different grooves. And I'll just sort of go and find a groove that inspires me, and then I'll record that to audio. So that's what I've done here, is that I've recorded a pattern to audio. Bring it down here just for now. And this was the audio pattern that I came up with. And you'll also see that there are mess ups in the MIDI. Like this one isn't on the downbeat perfectly. This one is way off. This one's almost got like a velunk. I don't know how to describe that, like a bending tone to it, where it's like two tones are playing at the same time. And so it sort of distorts in this way. You can hear it here on this little note. Dun, dun, dun. And so I try to like keep those accidents in because I think they create an interesting musical moment. And then what I'll do once I've got it rendered down to audio, I'll then chop this up and try to create a interesting new pattern while also simultaneously thinking about how it's going to interact within the compressed groups that I assign it to. So you can see here almost like a little simplified version of that last one where I've got the vocals, melodic basses, kick and snare, top drums, effects. Here I'm really just using a couple of these. So I brought these into this group here into the basses, so that way it'll go into this limiter, and I've started to post-process the audio that we recorded and chop it up to like find new patterns. And also with the drum, I included two breaks for y'all. And so I've taken the two drum loops and chopped them up to create a its own unique pattern as well. And so after a little bit of time, it turned into this. And that's all I had time for this demo, but it literally like it comes from like that initial square wave that I showed y'all there. So let's see, what did I do to that square wave? Check out this EQ movement on here on this sound. So it's like I'm almost creating a melody out of this EQ spike into a bunch of compression and distortion. And yeah, the erosion noise and whatnot. And then I'm always like looking here in span at the, I'm going to turn it down a little bit more, at the shape of the sound. I don't know. It's glitching out on me, but here we can see it here a little bit. So where it's got this large heavy sub, sort of a duck in information here, and then it comes up again here in the high end. And usually I'd have it a little bit higher, but because these bits are so resonant and we're all listening on headphones, I just wanted to have those a little bit lower. So I'm always looking back here into Voxango into like, what's the shape of the sound, and then EQing things to accentuate that. And it's like, look at this. I'm just like boosting just all of the low end, ducking all these frequencies that I don't want, just boosting the heck out of these things, and really trying to like shape it with just like what I'm imagining the shape should be inside of span, and not really caring like what if it's right or wrong so much, but just like feeling it out. And as I'm exploring it, does it sound good? So that's the number one thing. So here, if I minimize these down again. So how do I go about chopping stuff? Because you can see here, there's the pattern. Well, here, I wanted something that hits harder. So I sort of kept things around the same note, I believe. Yeah, because without the EQ, it's literally just, if we get rid of the EQ. I guess it does go up to some other notes over here, and then the second time around it goes up to that other set of notes. So it's like almost like hinting at the previous chord progression, but just at the ends of phrases, while the other bits are just like this noise, but with this like EQ created melody along with them. So here with the drums, I've kept the kick and snare patterns like pretty simple and consistent over the entire thing. But then the break is where all the variation happens, and I think that you can get like these interesting little fills at the ends of songs. So that's the same. That's different. That's similar but different. So it's like here it's like A B C. I took a lot of poetry classes, and I think the poetry structure really helps in me like thinking about how to structure a musical song as well, is because like you're thinking of like when is it similar and when is it different. It also really depends on the context of your genre and whatnot. Like, cause like techno's self similarity is going to be, that's like a part of the aesthetic of the genre. While in bass music, or I don't even know what this is, some glitch hop kind of thing, you know, I wanted more personal expression and more unique moments. Um, and so like added in these little, you know, and it's the same drum kit, but it's like you can see here, it's like every other hit is like a different part of those drums. And so it's like me thinking as a drummer, um, when do I want noise and when do I want silence? Because here, if I was just to play this out without all the extra breaks, you know, it's cool. It's a little bit more minimal, but this at I don't know, it's a little bit more lively, and it fills in the space in which these things are just sort of, you know, like it fills that in to create a musical, something interestingly musical, yet still retain that heavy vibe for me. Um, yeah, and then like I always like I don't like to repeat sections too much. So this section is a phrase, and then I've gone into this is when I start thinking of like arranging something. Is like I think of like how do I move from one section to another. So here I've got effects that are going down and you know, while also here on the drums, I think I've added in reverb. Oh yeah, check this out on the reverb. Um, I think this section over here sort of demonstrates that the most is that I feel like some people like when they hear a big sound and they hear the reverb, they just throw the reverb on. But oftentimes what that does is that it makes the sound feel like it's more in the background. And so what I've done here is I've automated the reverb to only be on when I want to actually hear the reverb. So in the silence of the bass. You know, so it's like only happening in these little gaps right here. And so that way it gives the impression that the bass is like really loud, but it's not actually occurring while it's playing. And it's just like I think that that's part of the thing of producing music is creating psychoacoustic effects to trick the brain into perceiving something is bigger or smaller or larger or louder or softer than it actually is. And you know, it's like that's the thing with like movies, you know, it's like the people are not actually, spoiler alert, using superpowers, but the illusion of it comes across so well that you as just like a casual like enjoyer of a movie, you're just like you feel like that's actually happening to some degree in your mind, even though you know it's not. But your perception of it through your eyes and ears, like make it feel more real than it actually is. And I think that's the sort of the purveyor of good art is like when it makes you feel something, you know, and so I think that's an interesting approach to music as well, is like taking the processes of other creative endeavors like movies or poetry and whatnot and applying those same theories to your music making process. So here is another technique I really like to do. Um, is I'll take a bass sound. So it's like, I think I just took this bass sound and then stretched it out. So there's that sound. I'll warp it. Um, and then down here, I'll hit this ×2 button and I'll just stretch it out as far as it will go. And it's like, because it's in beats mode, it sort of struggles. And I find like, yeah, like you can like get some interesting like little glitches or in texture mode. I really like this. Like that sound, you can get that out of a bass. That's a really cool sound. I like that. Like it's like a weird added in glitch. So here I'll Apple J that so that way we can see what it actually looks like, and then see how would I include this into the song. Probably at like some, because like in music it's like call and responses, and that's what we're seeing here is there's call, response, call, response, call. See, can I fit it in there? Let's see. Almost, not quite. Maybe I'd fit it over in this section because I was starting to like really mess with those kinds of sounds over here. There we go. That's sort of cool right there. Though maybe we just even move it off the grid and find some other maybe unique pattern. Yeah, that's sort of cool. I don't know. And this is the thing is like exploring and seeing how you can make accidents, because I think that happy accidents is a lot of like the we as humans cannot think of everything that goes into reality, and reality is so complex. So I think it's when we are trying to just be in a mode of discovery, and when you allow accidents to happen, all of a sudden this new thing emerges that you're, and if you have like the taste and to recognize it, then you can be like, okay, stop there, don't do anything to that sound, and then move on to something else. Because like, yeah, uh, it's just those accidents that push the boundaries of things forward. Um, cool. Yeah, I think in here to change these, I just changed the pitch. That's nothing too special. Oh yeah, creating this was sort of fun. So how did I do that? I think I just got it out of this sample here. My friend Wiley, who I recorded who was actually playing the drums in that session.
Rude boy.
Okay, let's put it back at.
Rude boy.
Okay, so is he saying? Okay, so it's rude boy. Okay, so I'm gonna warp this, and I'm gonna warp it as far as it can go, and I'm gonna put it on tone or texture, flux, grain size all the way up.
Rude, 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 rude,
All right, so we're almost there. So I'm gonna hit Apple J on that because I can't stretch it anymore. And then I'll just stretch it again, but then what I'll do is I'm gonna create a warp mode over here, and then we'll just scoot it forward, put it back into texture mode again, grain size all the way up again, and then we'll listen to that. Maybe I do something like that, and then that's basically how I got this thing. But then I've applied a bunch of effects to it as well, where it's like starting to change pitch using the frequency shifter and the fine knob there. I love those little glitchy things right there at the end. I really do like that sound. It sounds like almost like, when your cell phone comes on your speaker, or like you're working on some music and your cell phone is near it, and like you'll start to hear it picking up like the frequency or something like that. It almost sounds like that. Yeah. Anyone know what I'm talking about? That happens.
Yeah, the radio interference that you'll hear sometimes.
Yeah, it reminds me of that a little bit. All right. Oh, cool. It seems like the Bob Ross of Ableton. Oh, thanks, y'all. the screamable sound is so good. Scramble. I had scrambled eggs for breakfast, so I agree. Greetings from Chile. Oh yeah, what's up, man? I'm just looking through some of the comments. Anything else to keep in mind to avoid in our processing chains to produce maximize three-dimensional sounds? The reverb thing was one. Making sure to automate the reverb on and off. And then also really paying attention to how much distortion is used and how much compression is used. So a lot of these things, it's like when I compress things, I like put it on just some sort of knob that I can move back and forth, because like within bass music, compression is really important to like really get all the tone and the subtle texture out of things and to make them sound like really in your face. But also overdoing it again, can eliminate the dynamics completely. And, again, this having an easy access to scale the amount of compression that you're doing at any given moment in your chain, I think is important. And also to know when to allow dynamics to reign. So like this is one of the Magic Ableton racks that I didn't give away, but it's on the Magic Racks Volume 4. Listen to the difference. There's just like so many different like thinking about what's the utility of your drums. Are they supposed to sound really big, or are they supposed to sound punchy and tiny and tight? Like different things to think about and see like how your compression is affecting the transients and the tails of all your drums. So that's what I think about when I think of those things. I don't know which one it was on though. Oh well. I guess, yeah. Any other questions about this process?
A couple, and like he's asking about panning tricks or try to stay in mono coming in from
Oh,
Tom
okay.
Carl.
Yeah. So the best thing you can do to make a sound wider is to make everything else sound less wide. And this was something that I would bang my head on the wall, because like I'd listen to Skrillex tracks and be like, how are his tracks so wide? I'm putting widening on everything in my track, and I cannot make the thing sound as wide. And I realized it's because I was putting widening on everything. And again, it's about the illusion rather than the actuality of it, at least in terms of like this creative process. And so by having more elements in mono, the parts that do sound really wide sound even more wide. So like this bass sound, again, I use span to check the width using this correlation meter. So over here on the right side, that's pure mono. Here on 0 is stereo, and over here is anything over here is out of phase, which out of phase things can be okay in certain moments, but generally I like to have things more stereo and mono. But here the bass is very mono. So, and let's see here, the drums I think are pretty mono too. Yeah, the drums are pretty mono here. So that way when I do like a sound like these little, I think these are out of phase, or no, they're straight stereo to out of phase. So it sounds really wide when those things occur. So yeah, it's about the difference between the sum total of your elements, how close they are to mono versus the few elements that are wider that give the perception of depth and width.
About contrast.
Yes. Any advice for mixing deep, dark, and dangerous style tracks? Download a bunch of deep, dark, and dangerous style tracks and look at them through span and memorize their shape inside of span. And then when you're mixing your track, try to match those things. That's the best advice. This was my most popular video, is that advice right there, is me just saying, look at your favorite tracks in span. If you're trying to make something in a similar style, like actually just memorize how it looks like in like the ratio of their spectrum or of the frequencies to each other. What's the ratio of the low to the high? I'm just holding this here. So yeah, look at the track, like how far up did the lows go? How far up do the highs go? Like what's the middle information look like? What does the correlation meter look like? What's the RMS hitting at? You know, and observe. This was the number one thing that made me way better at mixing music, was just observing, critically observing, sort of like a bird watcher, you know? Like you're just out in the forest looking at wild artists and their creations, but you're in your studio like looking at span, and the span is your binoculars.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a great closing note for your presentation, Chris. Thank you so much for sharing everything. Thanks for sending these raps. Thanks for sending that pack of your racks, and make sure you check out, if you guys want more. I've seen, I don't know how many I guess collaborative producers or friends or colleagues that are using your rack. I see your racks all over the place, all kinds of different studio sessions, and they're really great. I highly recommend them if you haven't got them. Get all of them.
Can we post the link to you to my Gumroad one more time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Chris has got it there, the ahi.gumroad.com, and I've got sample packs and the other Ableton racks in there. Yeah. It's amazing to me, like how receptive and useful that they've become for people. And it just makes me so happy that I can sort of transfer my knowledge into easily just throw this on your thing and it will generally help. And then you can dial it in from there. And if people are really interested in just like learning about inspiration and creativity, I just want to point out the WUB theory here one more time. I'm going to be this. I just did one episode so far. I'm going to be doing another episode later next month, where I just talk with other touring artists. This one was with Rekno, Uju, and Jordan Moody. Rekno's done some collabs with this artist Grizz, and Uju and Jordan Moody are dope producers. They've been touring around. They've all released on this label Wakan that's run by Liquid Stranger. And it's all sort of like more experimental bass music, but Rekno's just such a fun lyricist, and it was so cool to be able to talk with them just about how they approach their creativity. And I think that that's a part that I don't see on YouTube as much. So I'm trying to fill that in of something that I wish I saw more of, and so I'm trying to participate in that.
Awesome. Stoked. Yeah, definitely stoked to check out more episodes. So keep it up. Sweet. Well, thanks again, everyone else. We had so many different cities of Ableton user group communities that all kind of came together to make this happen. Thanks again, Thomas Falds and Alberto Chapa, for kind of spearheading this to make it happen. Thank you, Chris Ahi, for crushing it. And Robert Henke. I think he might have signed off by now, yeah. But what a pleasant treat to have one of the co-founders of all this software to be here. James Patrick, shout out. Woo! Slam Academy, Minneapolis, Jason Goodyear, Darren Kramer, everyone else that participated and did a breakout room. Once again, I wanted to say thanks. We're giving one more thing, or it's actually two more things I want to toss on to everyone that's still here. We created a survey just to give your guys' opinion, and so we can get some feedback on this workshop. If you complete the survey, if you make it all the way through and then submit it, you're going to get a free Ableton pack from Ableton.com. And I believe it's going to be the Ableton pack of your choice. Thomas can confirm that. Yeah. So some of these packs are like over $100. So this is a great deal. You can go through, pick any pack you want, fill the survey, get it out. If you're not interested in any packs, if you want to buy Ableton Live, or if you get a pack and you want to buy another one, or you want to buy a push, we have a promo code for 20% off of Ableton.com for anything from the Ableton store. So this could be an Ableton Suite license. It could be for a new push. It could be for merchandise. It works for anything. And this code is going to be valid for 12 hours. So it's only good for today. And we're only giving it to you guys to see if you want, but that's a great deal. It even works on educational pricing. So if you guys are students and looking for a great time to upgrade or purchase the software, take advantage of that. That's 20% off. Could save you a lot of money, especially if you're buying Suite, especially if you're buying a push. You know, that's a great discount. So thanks again. Make sure you follow your local Ableton user group communities to stay connected. I think because this one was so successful, we're probably going to do another large one in February online in the same format. And yeah, thanks again for everyone for tuning in.
Well, yeah, y'all. It was wonderful being here. Thanks for everyone so much.
Thanks y'all for having me. Super appreciate y'all doing this, and I will see y'all in the future.
Oh yeah. Great job on the hosting, Orville.
Thanks.
See you later, everyone.
See you guys.
Thanks.